to Raising with Purpose, the Parent Podcast. This is the platform where we have honest conversations to help families better understand the path to secondary school and also to make the decisions that will influence our children's education. On this podcast, I'll be bringing voices from different perspectives, from teachers to tutors, parents, and even education professionals. I am your host, Dele, and today's episode is a special one, really special. We are joined by a parent who has walked the 11 plus journey, felt overwhelmed like every other parent did, and faced the uncertainty and came out on the other side with clarity, confidence, and a child is thriving. This conversation is for any parent who feels unsure, pressured, or confused about the 11 plus process. You're going to hear what's possible when you have the right information, the right support and guidance, and of course, a structured plan in place that truly fits your child. So today I am joined by Hanna Earls, a director of finance at Cambridge University Press and Assessment, a parent who, after having a conversation, we both realized that we have something in common, which is the 11 plus journey. And she felt exactly how I felt and how other parents, felt overwhelmed by the 11 plus, of course. Hanna, thank you so very much for being here. Before we talk about the 11 plus, would you mind telling us a bit more about yourself, who you have beyond work, because I know you've got a busy schedule, and your journey as a parent navigating through education choices?
Thank you so much, Della. So good to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm Hanna. I originally come from Poland, so not UK. I've been living in the country for 20 years and had no idea about what the education system is all about. So it's been quite a journey having a son who goes through the stages, primary school, now secondary school. It's very exciting. So I've got a boy who's 11. He's done his 11 plus in September last year.
Oh, exciting. When you got the result, how did you feel about it?
I cannot explain it as magic. So because obviously the results were positive, he got into the school he wanted. Through hard work, every time I go for a long run, I've got a difficulty in my personal life. I think, yeah, but my son got to grammar school. It's fine. If he can do it, I can do it.
There you go. There you go. I like that. Oh, thank you very much for sharing that. I can imagine the excitement and the pressure before you even open the results. When the email lands, I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? And it feels so satisfactory when you open it and it's positive. So well done to you and well done to your son, of course.
Never heard of 11 plus before, so I learned it from my son's dad. And then from people around me. And I heard it's important for grammar schools and for private schools, and it's super hard. That's all I knew.
So did you do a little bit of research and did you read about it? Was there any information that stood out or that actually encouraged you as a parent that, grammar school or independent school, which one suits my child? Was there any specific research you did about the school, their ranking, or any specific, research you did on the 11 plus?
Absolutely, because I often hear that people think grammar schools you pay for. It's like, I need to find out about it. So did research about how this works in practice. What are the rankings? And I did have a call with a tuition school 2 years before to find out how they support the journey and what it is all about. So I did my research by obviously online research on our government sites, as well as talking to people about it.
Absolutely. Because that research is really, really key. Because imagine you doing preparation for 11 plus where you don't even have a clue of what the process is or what the school you're about to go into is. And because for me, that information is a driver that motivate people to actually put in all the effort that is required for them to get themselves into that system. So that research is really, really key for every parent to actually have that information ahead. And can you share some of your pain points in terms of your challenges or your struggle, navigating 11 plus for your child?
Well, the first one was actually deciding, are we going to do this? So we all decided, yes, that's what we want. We went for open days early on as well. And I think that's a key. Fall in love with the school first, because then it really motivates you and keeps your discipline going. The challenge was time, energy, and setbacks. When you do mock exams, or he does mock exams, and they don't go well, or it's just overwhelming, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. It is. I can relate with that. I can relate with that, especially when you just see yourself when others are kind of maybe going to party or having fun, and they see themselves studying instead. You know, that alone make them feel, oh no, why am I doing this? But when they have that mindset of what the end result is or the destination, I think that actually motivates them. So, were there any routine in place in terms of how he studied and the things he did? What were the structure that you put in place for him to support him?
Absolutely. I strongly believe environment is everything. So we build a habit that every morning, 5 minutes in the morning, we'll do some mock exams or some tests just to practice, because it's all about practice. He had lessons once every Thursday for 2 hours. Absolutely loved it. It was the best part of his week. He's a proper geek, so that helps. And then weekends we'll be doing homework, and we just talk about it and practice and learn and moan and listen. So yeah, I think as a parent, being that person to share the burden, the pains, was very, very important for us, for my son, because he didn't feel alone.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Because you have that meltdown time or downtime that they were like, you just have to work at their pace for you to really give them that affirmation that I believe in you and you believe in yourself, and it helps them to boost that confidence up. So, were there any specific material or resources that you use in the study time?
So we got a lot of materials from the tutoring school. They were fantastic. They gave us everything for homework, for extra work if needed. There were some online materials as well. So we really stuck to that through the 2-year journey.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. And what that does is, even working with your child in preparing for this in level plus process, it also creates that bond between yourself and them, because when you feel their pain and they know that you are there for them, it actually give them that reassurance that yes, mommy is there for me, daddy is there for me, and that also keeps them going. It's really, really key, very, very key. Thanks for sharing that. That's really good. So there is often a lot of pressure, which we've talked about, much earlier, about 11 plus from schools, other parents, even ourselves. We just talked about how our own role, plays a major a part of that process. How real is that pressure, and how did you navigate it as a parent?
That is a great question, because in my son's case, he was the only one from school to do the test. So there was no pressure from school, no pressure from friends and other parents. It was his own idea to go to grammar school. And that's why I say go to the open day, because they will fall in love with that school. And that what drove him, but also gave him that pressure. He had a lot of pressure on himself, and he's a sensitive child. So for me, the way to navigate it was to feel the pain with him, create an environment he feels safe, celebrate successes, but also when he feels like he wants to moan, I was there with him moaning. We were discussing the question papers being absolutely rubbish and it's all terrible. But just being that, that cuddle, that punch bag, that motivator for him, and just discussing it, because I think because he had an option every time he felt down about it, I was questioning, are you doing it for yourself or for me? Because if you're doing it for me, don't do it. There's no point. He did it for himself, and that's what drove him to continue.
Oh wow! Oh wow! I really like that. That's actually very, very, a unique story. Being the only one, even from his school, to write the exam, and how you supported him, and the success is positive. that's actually a very good, good confidence even in himself, because when he looks back and you're like, oh wow, and nobody can take that confidence away from him. That's, he carries that with him through his, his study. And yeah, that's one thing the 11th plus also do. It does, helping them to, build their confidence. So thank you very much. You must be a proud parent. If you were to whisper one sentence into every parent's ears before they start the 11 plus journey, what would that be?
I actually got three, if that's okay. And I mentioned some of it earlier. So the first one is agree as a family. This is the journey you want to take on together, because I think everybody has to get involved. It's not a one-man band. The second one is be there for your children. Listen, support them in any shape or form. If it's bribing them with chocolate, that's what we did sometimes. I think that's okay. And the third one is find good tutors.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we had our conversation, where were you in the process, and how helpful was that conversation at the time?
You came to my life at the best point ever. We were actually at the breaking point. We've done 2 years of hardcore tuition and exams and mocks. And it was the first mock exam results that didn't go as well as my son would have hoped. So we met and you shared your journey with us. And you really resonated when you shared, you start early, get that mindset for education and hard work, really. Then do the tutoring. And then you mentioned one-to-one tuition over summer. And that was the light bulb moment, because I haven't even thought of that. So that's what we did. And that's what made him succeed, I think. It really helped with self-confidence, and it helped him working through the weaker points that he had. I think without the summer tuition, he wouldn't have got in. So thank you again so much for that support and your ideas and your story.
Wow. I'm pleased to hear that. Someone else shared their own story with us as well. And we also, rode with it, and it worked for all our 3 children. So it's something I'm passionate about, to, make sure that parents are well supported in this journey. Because for me, I believe all children have the ability and the potential for them to be successful. Especially going through the grammar school route, they have that potential if they are well supported and if parents have the right information. And that's why I'm passionate about it, and always look for opportunity to talk about it. So thank you very much. So my last question for you, in the middle of all of this, how did you protect your child's confidence and, his sense of self? Because I can imagine after all the pressure and, again, seeing him being the only person from his school, and yet, he was successful at it. How did you protect him?
And that is the biggest challenge, because I think they're so young when they have to go through such a big exam that's life-changing. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of work. And I know my son's confidence really took a hit. So my approach was just to be there for him and listen and give him options and share my story with him as well. My story of exams failing, succeeding. We celebrated a lot, every mock exam that actually was fine, we celebrated, or even any failure we celebrated, because it's part of the journey. And I think what he gave him, we got to a stage that exam time came, and it's like, no matter what happens, you've done it. You've done the hard work, and it's life-changing. I think he's got the lessons for life now, the hard work, the approach, and way of thinking. I think it wired his brain very differently now as well.
Yeah, it did indeed. You mentioned earlier on that there were 2 grammar schools within your area. So, when you filled the form that you need to put in your school choices, did you put your first choice as number 1, or you just put, and in what order did you put it? Because I asked that question. Most parents, they always have the mindset and the fear that when they put in their first choice, they don't get in. So they tend to compromise and put, what is not their first choice, which that is actually necessarily not the case. It's always advisable for them to get in that first choice. And in most cases, the children get in, of course, if they have, meet the criteria and the ranking of the school. So was that your journey as well?
So what we did, we had a proper meeting around the table, the three of us, his dad, myself, and my son. And we looked at the data, because we're data-oriented people. And by the time you put your preferences onto the official website, you know the score and you know most likely which way it's going to go. So we knew he scored 10 points over the limit, which means it's very likely he's going to get in. And his preferred school was very, very difficult to get to. So we put that as a first choice, thinking we're going to get this. And then second was the second grammar school in a local area. And the third choice was our normal school. That's also nice, but is a third choice.
Excellent. That's really, really key and important. That order of preference is really, really key. Whatever is your first choice, just put it anyway. And you never know. Especially when you put in the hard work and the child have that score and, you meet the criteria of the school, why miss the opportunity? Just go for it. So, yeah, well done. Thank you so very much, Hannah, for sharing your journey and so openly, and your story, I believe, and reassured that it will be a blessing, and other parents listening to it or watching it will also pick up from your experience, and that would be helpful to them. If you're listening to this podcast or you're watching it and you feel overwhelmed, unsure, or pressured by 11 plus process, just know that support is available. You don't have to navigate this alone. And thank you very much for your time for watching. And until next time, keep raising with intention and keep believing in your child's incredible potential. And in the future, they will come back and say, oh, thank you, mommy. Thank you, daddy. And thank you so very much, everyone. Thank you. Bye for now. If you are listening or watching this podcast and you feel overwhelmed by the 11 plus process, always know that support is available and you don't have to navigate this alone. Or even if you feel that you are on track on this process, and you agree with me that every piece of information, lesson and experience, they all count towards the success of 11 plus journey. So thank you very much. And until next time, keep raising with intention and keep believing in your child's incredible potential.